81% of people are underwater. That's a bad investment unless you are expecting 5 years.
Right.
Now, if you go 5 years, you will not be underwater.
Welcome to the Tom Storey Show with Steve Karrasch and Tom Storey, where we discuss everything real estate or whatever else is on our minds.
Touch me. Hands under the table. Hands in your pocket, hands in your pocket.
We are recording. This will be on the show.
Welcome back to the Tom Storey Show. Steve remains in Toronto today, so we're doing another in-person episode, and we are welcoming back Ralph Ciancio to the show.
For an arguable amount of the revisits.
Yeah.
Not exactly sure how many.
He seemed to think you've been on twice before, which I think you've only been on once before.
Yeah, it's
Been on,
debatable.
no, you've been on once before.
I think twice.
In person in Whistler.
Whistler, yes, the hotel. But I feel like we did it here too.
I don't know.
I think you were just hoping you were someone else.
You know what? I'm going to go back because I watch all your episodes.
Do you?
I make notes and stuff. I got them in a little book at home, like a journal. Yeah. Thoughts about Tom and Steve. And so I'm going to just check my notes. I'll check my diary.
Well, welcome back. We
Thank
appreciate you being here. For people that didn't catch the first time you were on, because that was almost like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Who are you?
Yeah. So my name is Ralph Ciancio. I'm excited to be here. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate the opportunity to share with some of your listeners. I'm a real estate broker here in the GTA in Markham. I own a ReMax office in Unionville for ReMax Hallmark Ciancio Group, where I run my small team, boutique team.
Yep.
Really hands-on, and I've been selling homes for 17 years. I've been building homes for the 5 years before that. And before that, I was actually a University of Guelph graduate alumni, like some other people at the table.
Welcome to the club. Welcome to. I guess you were in the club first.
I know Ralph's not going to be lame and he's going to have a scotch with me. Are you going to have a scotch or no?
Yeah,
If you're gonna pressure me into it, yes, I will.
Do you want mix or do you just want...
Just
Okay, I'll make-
whatever might just give me something and we're
Okay,
good to go.
Sorry, I'll go back on mute.
he used to drink at the Palace. So that was
And Ralph also, bit introverted, doesn't really talk much, so this might be a painful hour to get through. What do we think?
kind of quiet. Kind of quiet. I don't like that.
Wait a minute. Is the Palace, was that like a massive nightclub in North Toronto?
No, it was in Guelph.
Oh, okay.
So there was a club in Guelph, downtown Guelph. The lowest level was the underground. Then there was the Palace. And
Trappers.
there's Trappers.
Palace
on the
on
ground
the
level.
top.
Palace on the top. So when you went to the club or whatever, Thursday night bar hopping, they'd funnel you into the underground. You'd hang out there. And
You
then,
kind of slowly move your way up,
Yeah, it was like progression.
depending on how much you drank early in the night, that you might be stuck in the basement
Yeah,
and not make it up to the
that's
top
exactly-
floor.
I want to say 20 plus years ago, I was in a North Toronto somewhere, and I just ended up in this massive nightclub, and it was a big pink building. And I don't know. Anyway, I just wonder.
It's probably condos
It
now.
was multiple floors.
It's definitely condos now.
Yeah.
No, but Bob Dayhue, the owner of Palace, gamified. That was like the Donkey Kong version of going to the bar. It's like you just tried to climb the ladder up the top level. So
A lot of fun nights there.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're here for a conference. We basically spent the last, 8 hours in a room, which is tough for three of us that probably all have levels of ADD.
yeah, I've got adequate amount of ADHD, like
Just enough.
just the right amount, to
Just
get through
enough?
the day. Yeah.
One of the things that came up in the discussion today, and has been a headline previously, but is investors. Investors in today's real estate market, 81% of people that bought properties in the last 5 years, I believe, are cash flow negative.
Yeah.
Like all the new investors are taking a hit. Rent is actually going down from where it was in probably like summer of 22 was probably the...
Yeah, I think it peaked then, and it's been creeping down slowly.
And then you have landlord tenant board issues. So maybe we'll just start with like on the investment side. I know for the three of us, the core of our business is helping people buy properties to live in.
Yeah.
That's the core of what we all do. But I helped lots of investors throughout the years.
Well, I think it's a graduation because
Yeah.
what you do, like first step of the real estate ladder is find a place to live in. So you may start by renting a place.
Right.
From there, you may go out and buy a place.
Yeah.
Primary residence, and then from there you may upgrade your home to a great family home.
Yeah.
And then as you progress, you say, you know what, real estate's a great vehicle. Let's get into investing in real estate. And that's where a lot of people end up progressing into investing in real estate.
And didn't it feel like though for a period of time though, like everyone was on the train of like, I need to invest in real estate. Like it became almost like, I don't know if fad's the right word.
I think it's definitely a word.
Everyone, not seasoned people that went to business school that, you know, look at the numbers, just every mom and pop was like, I want to own an investment condo, or I want to do this or that. And you obviously saw that influx of what happened.
Yeah.
But now that things aren't so rosy,
well,
and they're cash flow negative, because the cash flow negative is one thing, but if you're gaining value, you're like, all right, well,
you're losing value and cash flow.
Yeah, not a great 2 for 2.
Let's take a step back, because I think you nailed it in that there was a over demand.
Yeah.
You know, condos were oversubscribed. There was a surge in sales over the last 7 years in new condo development. And I think that part of it was the idea that you can get rich quick, the idea of paper flipping. So I can buy a condo on a Thursday night, and then by Sunday, it's gone up $100,000 and I can sell that contract. That's very, very lucrative. And it seemed to be a really, really easy way for people to generate monies.
Well, it was for a small period of time.
And then what happened is the builders started getting smart. So 7, 10, 15 years ago, people used to wait outside for new condo sales.
Like overnight.
And it's like
an iPhone.
Worse, like a Taylor Swift concert. You know, it's like every night was a Swiftie.
Yeah.
And what the developers started doing is they said, we're going to change our sales model from selling the first 300 units to the first 300 people waiting in line to allocation. And once they started allocating, it was a big mask as to how many sold. Because when there's 300 people in line and I see that the unit, whatever, there's 600 units, I know I have availability. But what happened is when the builders switched to allocation sales model, which for the people watching and listening, you know, they would allocate so many units for one real estate agent who has platinum status. Maybe they get 5 units. They don't get to pick the unit. The agent has to submit 10 worksheets, which a worksheet is derived from a buyer. From there, they say, hey, the agent would come back to the buyer and say, look, I've got a 2-bedroom unit on the ground floor facing the garbage dump. Do you want it or not? We have 24 hours.
I know.
So they made these micro...
And they're like, the first 2 that you wanted, they said no to. But option 3 is available, and you have to make a decision right now. They're going to give it to somebody else.
Ralph, do you want a soda or no soda?
No soda.
Okay,
thank you.
Yours. That's a Presbyterian. That's for like a Scotch.
Cheers, guys.
That's a Scotch drinker's, what do they call it? Gateway drug right there.
Gateway drug? Okay, fair enough.
So either way, I think that that's part of the reason why the wrong people purchase. I do believe that sometimes the wrong people purchased pre-construction condos. And that's what we're paying for right now.
Losing their shirts.
But
according to today.
Going back to when you were in new home, did you build homes or you sold new homes?
I built new homes. I used to work at Mattamy Homes.
Okay, but they were selling directly to consumer though, were they not?
Correct.
Yeah. And in those days, was the craziness happening then?
But that was single family homes, so it's a lot harder because like 300 houses is a lot of houses for one site. So sites were generally smaller, but there was crazy, you know, fandemonium.
Right.
I remember like sites after site, we would be releasing on Saturday. The sales office would open, and by Wednesday or Thursday, people would start sleeping outside. And I'm not going to name names, but there are some developers out there that would hire people to wait in line.
Oh, to make it look
like there was going to be a big rush. So they'd hire 5 people to start on Wednesday, pay them to just stay outside for 24 hours. And then when you're driving by, you say, oh my God, look at those people waiting in line. I should wait in line. And then that becomes the herd mentality, right?
But that's just a way for realtors to make some extra money when the market's not good, right? You get paid to wait in line.
That's a good idea. In between Ubers. until your Uber call comes.
I remember I had lunch one day at this like mastermind thing, and I was sitting at a table with a very prominent pre-con agent. And they were just talking to me, and it was almost like we were speaking different language. I was like, I could not believe what I was hearing. And this isn't to say like that they were a bad person or anything, but I was like, oh my God, like it's
a different world.
How does this work? How do you like feel good at night doing it this way? And also like you got paid that much for doing that?
That's exactly
Oh my God.
Huge amounts of commissions.
I don't think consumers recognize that.
Sometimes 6% on a $800,000
crazy.
With 6 and 8, $48,000 to just email you a builder's package. It's crazy. There was no staging. There's no consultation. There was zero negotiations. All it was about, connections, which you know, I've been talking about for a while. I think it's actually extremely unfair, and I think it's part of the housing crisis that the only people that had access to this new pre-construction and the early deals are the highly connected.
Yeah.
So a new Canadian who's coming here, trying to start a life with their family, they want to buy pre-construction. This was, I'm going back a few years ago when it was a really hot product. You had to pay a $200,000 or $250,000 premium to the person who had access. It's, again, going back to Taylor Swift. The tickets are $350
or $7,000.
Now they're $7,000.
Right.
So Taylor Swift made $350.
Right.
You can't blame her for the price of $10,000. That's the aftermarket.
Yeah.
But anyways, but your leading comment was 81% of people are underwater. That's a bad investment.
How long can that last?
Unless you were expecting 5 years.
Right.
Now, if you go 5 years, you will not be underwater. Rents will creep up.
You think this is going to come back in 5 years?
I think that an investor who buys a property right now may be underwater. 81% of them. It's a high likelihood if you buy a property, you're going to be underwater for the first 3 to 4 years. By year 5, I feel quite confident.
Right.
More than 90% of them will at least be in a surplus. Because 5 years from now, you re-establish your mortgage, you refinance. So you would have paid down 5 years of principal, and the appreciation would have gone up, and the rents would have gone up.
So I guess what we're talking about. So we just went and saw Benjamin Tal, one of the top economists in the country, talk about this. So what were you like? I've never seen real estate agents writing down so much stuff from a presentation before, because it was just like, how is this all going to come together? And he, going back to his same presentation he did this time last year, it's bang on with
what he said was going to happen.
everything.
Pretty
Always. Like, he is so right, so consistently. He's like for the people watching at home, Benjamin Tal from CIBC he's the Cleo. Do you remember Cleo? Anybody watch late night TV? You guys are too young.
No,
You're calling
I do
me
remember.
now.
I do remember.
He used to call for like a 1-800 number to get your like future read. And so he is the Nostradamus so far that I see in the world of real estate, because, you know, some of the things that he talks about are all macro.
Yeah.
But as agents on the ground level, we interpret that information and can give it to our clients and say, look, this is what I'm hearing from the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
This is how it will impact you.
He was saying on a few things, and we'll get to this, but specifically on the condo market side of things. He was like, this isn't even like a guess of what's going to happen. He's like, this is what is going to happen. He didn't like preface it by saying this could happen. No. He's like, this is exactly what is, we'll get to it in a second.
Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah.
Oh, you want to go there
He
first?
was just like, this is not a matter of if this market comes back. This market is coming back, and this market is going to come back with a crazy
But until
vengeance.
then, it's he said frozen. It was basically like, what I took from it was houses are fine. They've actually been fine for a while now.
Yeah.
Condo market is frozen. It's very much in a recession. And he said that it's as bad as it's been since 1991. Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Great year, by the way, just in general. Just want to throw that out there.
You just want to
Great
toss
year.
it in there?
Yeah, just a great year in general.
All good things happened in
You're a big
1991.
fan. You were a fan of the Pittsburgh Penguins back then, were you? That was their year, right?
91?
91. They went
Was
back
that
to back.
Mary Lemieux? Mary Lemieux
back-to-back
and
Cups, the Army Yager. So I wrote down a comment that he said, and this is Benjamin Tal's words, that condos will literally, and he was referring to values. He said they're going into the sky.
Okay, but when?
Realtors, it's time to up your game. Realty Ninja allows you to create a stunning lead capturing and hassle-free website that looks great and will match with your current brand. They are a sponsor of this show, and they're giving listeners 20% off your first year, and you don't pay $1 until you launch. Join the thousands of real estate agents across this country, including Steve, the cheapest person I know that uses their services. realtyninja.com/Tom. And now, back to the podcast.
That was the question.
He said more than 1 year from now.
Yeah, I
The
think
next
20,
1 year.
26, 27.
He said the
probably.
next 6 months also might be
really
without saying
tough.
the word bloodbath. He may have said that. Like, this is gonna be bad.
For owners of condos that bought recently, because even if you bought before 2019, you're probably still fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you bought pre-con in 2021 and it just closed, you're going to be waiting way longer.
But I think it's worth noting is that, you know, some of the lens that we're talking about is for an investor who's looking at the monetization of that one unit.
Right.
I would say if anyone's listening right now and you own a condo, if you're going to be selling the condo and buying another property, you know, you're probably not winning right now because low rise has outperformed high rise in the last 18 months, but it's almost nullified. I think that the comment of prices are going to skyrocket is really impactful for the people that own a condo as an investment. And if they're going to be selling it, they don't need to necessarily buy another one. But I do see it, for me, what I heard, buy condos now.
That's what I have written down right now.
Everyone I know and say, like, to be honest with you, like personally, we own a condo under personal name. And there's a challenge with that one. It's a property in Markham. And I'll tell a quick story just to build some kind of connection with anybody listening. We were selling pre-construction back in 2012 at Markham and 16th Avenue. And I was with a group of realtors. We sold 10% of the inventory in the first week. And I had gone in because we had some administration stuff to do with the sales staff. And as the agent representing the condo was making a photocopy for me, I said, oh, like, give me one too. Just give me a cheap one. You know, give me like, go to the back and find one. And he comes to the front and he says,
with an old dusty shoebox.
Yeah. He's like, you know what, Ralph, this one actually just came back. We got a fax. It failed on finance. It's a great unit if you want to buy it. I said, yes, I'll take it. Now, Steve, the sales agent, knows my wife. And he says, Maria's going to let you just buy a condo just like that. And I said, no, I'm going to sign it right now. And he says, no way, you don't need her permission. I said, first of all, I don't need permission. This is collaborative. I said, we've been talking about this for months. We knew what we were looking for. This just happened to be the opportunity. So I signed off on it, went home to get the checkbook. My wife was jumping for joy. She says, this is the best thing. Like, timing was perfect.
What year was this again?
This was in 2012.
Okay.
When I bought the property, I was underwater. You know, rents were $1,200 a month. And it was costing me probably $1,500 a month or $1,400 per month.
You were cash flow negative. You weren't underwater.
Sorry.
Values
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
Yeah, cash flow negative.
Sure.
Fast forward. So when I had bought the condo, my daughter turned 2 years old. And I have this picture of her standing beside the, like, you know, figurine of the condo.
Yeah.
And I said, this is a condo for my daughter. So that when she turns 18, I'll sell the condo. I'll give her the keys. She can pay for university, pay for a wedding, pay for a car, pay for a down payment on the house. My contribution to her future will be just simply managing this property for 16 years, which we've been doing.
Can I ask what you paid for it?
We paid $202,000.
What's it worth today?
Today?
Today.
I'm going to say I'd be lucky at 530, 520,
So really not like good growth, obviously.
Yeah, it was at 600 in like the peak.
And it was probably what it is today in 2019 as well.
Probably somewhere around there.
Okay.
But I intentionally tried not to look at the sales amount because I didn't want to sell it. Now, that being said, because of pressures by the Landlord Tenant Board, because of changes in legislation since then,
right,
I'm very likely going to be selling this property because the property is before any rent controls. Like I'm governed by rent controls.
Yeah.
And I had a situation where I had a tenant in the property that let his son move in. The tenant moved back home to another country. And for 4 years, there was another random guy living in the place. And every time I went to visit him, he told me it was just temporary. I don't want to go down a rabbit hole for your listeners, but...
Was rent being paid?
Rent was being paid through the father, but I had no idea who this man was living in my place.
I just went through not that story, but something similar.
So he got into like fist fights with security, smashed their cell phone. I got charged for damages he had in the building.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's not my tenant. He's just an occupant. He's a squatter.
right.
So it took me about 14 months through the Landlord Tenant Board to finally evict him.
And what year was that?
This was a year and
Oh, it
a
just
year ago.
happened?
Yeah, just recently. I've got a new tenant in. Everything is great. That being said, based on Benjamin Tall's comment of the next 6 months may be very difficult for condo sellers, and then where it's going to skyrocket, I will likely sell that and then purchase another condo that is newly built.
It's not under rent
You're going to
control.
sell,
Not under
wait
rent
until the
control.
market comes back? Or are you going to try and sell it in the middle of all
I'm
the
not
shit
sure.
market right now?
That's a great point. I think I'd probably sell it. Here's the thing is that you can always wait for a future market.
But you've already made most of the
Exactly.
gains you're going to get on this place, at least for the near future,
For
right?
the near future. And I would say, Warren Buffett said the key to making lots of money is to buy near the bottom and sell near the top.
Yeah, so you should be buying now, not selling.
But he didn't say buy at the very, very bottom.
Hey, maybe you should just buy the next one
You
first.
should buy the next one.
That's, to be honest, that's what I'm thinking. Is
Okay.
I'll buy an assignment of someone who needs to get out of the condo.
Right.
I'll buy it now. The closing date would be in a few months.
This episode of the Tom Storey Show is brought to you by Pumping the Market.
Wait, I just want to go back for a second. when you were talking about the days at Mattamy and people
Yeah.
lining up outside, that was mostly low-rise construction for the most part.
Yeah, low rise.
Right now in your marketplace,
Yeah.
what is being built?
So right now, high densification.
Okay.
So high density.
And what does that mean? What's that in Markham? Is that
Right. So that's a great
18
question.
stories? Like, what is that?
So I can get hyper technical if you
Yeah.
want, because again, I have a background in home building. So when we talk about low rise, traditionally you'd have 6 to 8 homes per acre.
Okay.
That's like a 50 foot, 40 foot.
You guys call low rise, you refer to like homes and townhomes as low rise.
Yeah. High rise would be anything above 4 feet or 4 stories.
Okay, so we have what we refer to,
Or mid-rise
just for
would be.
reference. Yeah, so we have like when we're talking low rise, we're always talking still condos. They're usually 4 stories, and then mid rise is 6 to 8.
In my
Something
mind,
like
I
that.
kind of think low-rise means freehold.
Yeah.
Like in my mind.
Yeah, so it's
You
just
say
a different terminology. 'Cause
land-oriented.
yeah,
Yeah.
like they were talking about, oh, low rise is going to be great for the next little bit, and I'm like, low rise to me means
No, not that.
condos,
not that
like the
type.
one I own, right?
Right.
I'm in like like a wood frame would be a low rise,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So just to clarify that, so you're talking about things like single family.
Like a single family, 2-car garage, detached home. So again, 6 to 8 units per acre is, medium densification. 1 home or 2 homes per acre is low densification. And then what they're doing now is they're pushing it to anywhere between 12 and 20 units per acre, or even higher.
So, but what they're building is condo buildings that are
Condo townhouses. Right
Okay,
now,
so
I
there's
think stacked townhouses.
stacked
So-
townhouses.
So I'm talking about the most prevalent new release or new construction you'll see within Markham, Stouffville, Richmond Hill. Generally, are going to be townhomes or
same
attached
with
homes, link.
And are those
semi-detached.
still selling out in today's market
There's-
because they're not just the regular tower built condo?
the premium for them is quite high. So
Okay.
real estate, and I'll say this, real estate always feels expensive. In every market I've ever been in, prices always seem high. I remember my first property I bought for $330,000, and I was like, "Whoa!" My dad said, "Let me talk to you, son. That's a lot of money. Like, watch out." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh man, that was bad advice." And he usually gives great advice.
Yeah.
But I was like, real estate is always worth more in the future, and that's one thing that Benjamin Tall said today too. He goes, "Never
Here.
bet against real estate in the long
Have it
run."
right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Never bet against the market was his exact words.
Well, real estate market. Yeah.
Real estate market. Yeah.
So, but something that, we talk about 81% are under are cash flow negative.
Yeah.
The question is really going to be, how long can people survive?
Because is the worst, and maybe this is the worst not over in terms of how high rates are? Like, I guess if those people lose their job, then they can't keep that, then they have to sell that property.
Yeah.
But as long as they have a job, if the rates keep dropping, is the worst not kind of behind us? Like the pain they felt?
I'd like to think so, but everyone's individual circumstance
Sure.
is different.
Sure.
If they signed in for a new lease, or maybe on their principal residence, they need to refinance and they get out of their 2% interest rate and they have
Right.
to refinance at 4%. But it's worth noting, like I ripped off one of your posts after the last rate announcement at $29 per $100,000. So the recap on that was, people are saving now with the new interest rate $29 per 100,000. What I did is I extrapolated that and said we've had 1.25% drop in interest rates since the beginning of the interest rates drop 4 months ago, which is $79 per 100,000. So if you compare someone's cash flow now to
It's not as bad.
May,
Probably $500 a month better.
$500 a month. So you know what? When you're swimming and you get an extra $500 a month, the waters go down a little bit. So I think that it allows the sellers.
It's up to the chin, but not to the mouth anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can breathe now.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think this is interest rates coming down is a little bit of a buoy for people that are drowning. I just, I hope that people aren't.
And when we say cash flow negative, we mean the total mortgage payment, the insurance they have, the taxes, and the condo fees versus the rent. But if you actually look at it and you look at the mortgage payment, and again, I fully recognize I do this a lot on the show that I'm realtoring here. I'm spinning this.
Yeah.
But how much is going to interest versus principal? Because are you really, if you're negative $400, but that's a principal payment, are you negative?
I had somebody the other
Are you
day-
negative?
I had
I don't think-
somebody I was talking to the other day that was talking about, like, could I possibly...
It's loss cost
Should I maybe
versus-
look at something where I'm also paying the interest out of pocket? I'm like, no. Like, it's one argument to have, like, cash flow negative. It's another argument to be subsidizing your renter by paying the interest on the loan as well, Like that's how negative they are. And it's just, that's not cool. You can't do that. You got to get out from under that asset. That doesn't make any sense.
I think it really depends on how comfortable people are in this situation. And I think that, you know, it's going to be short-term loss for long-term gain. And I think that, to your point, if things go up in 18 months from now, then, you know, if the average price goes up, well, then that push upward pressure on rents. I think the challenge is going to be all these cranes that we see as we're driving through Toronto. It's not just the cash flow. It's the barrier of completion that's killing people. That's why there's so many assignments selling for less money than what they purchased it. So to bring the viewers up to speed, people are actually selling right now very, very easily. You can find a property that someone bought in 2018 or 2020, and you can pay them less money than they signed for, and they will, in fact, lose $50,000 or $100,000.
That hurts, eh? When you
That's
lose
a
money,
real loss.
you got to kick in the money on closing just so the new purchaser can close because of what you paid for it.
And it's because HST rules for investing in real estate. You know, the amount of money you have to put down on a second property.
Yeah.
Right.
So investors have obviously disappeared the last, I don't know, over 24 months, I guess, based on the rates going up, or the ones that haven't disappeared just because they can't sell the asset yet. They're trying to assign it. They're trying to sell it on the condo market with a tenant in it. It's become very, very difficult. That's one part of it. And eventually, you know, the investors will come back to the market, but it's going to take some time. But that's one side of it, people buying for price growth and cash flow and things like that. The other side is just like the barriers of, you just explained the situation with yourself, how long it took you to get essentially a squatter out of a property that you owned, doing it everything the right way. So now looking at landlord tenant, like me and Steve did a live a few weeks ago. One of the questions was like, is there any hope for the landlord tenant board? I'm like, I don't know. Like
they're calling for a reform. You know, they say they're going to reform it. I'll tell you, just again, a quick scenario of a client who wanted to have their daughter move into one of their units. Yeah, perfectly legal. They give the legal required notice, more than that, and the tenant refuses to move out. They went to the landlord tenant board, took 10 months for the hearing. We had the hearing, and we were the 13th hearing on the day. Oh my gosh. And they got up to 11. So we waited all morning. At lunchtime, they stopped and they said, well, we're going to refile your application. And now we're still waiting. That was about 7 months ago. And we have to wait still for the next adjournment.
Andrew Stevens told us a story out of Halifax where that same thing happened, except they got so far.
They favored with the tenant.
They said, we understand that you're doing everything legal as the owner, but your daughter missing out on a place to stay for university, causing her damage is way better of a situation than causing this family of 5 to move out of this 2-bedroom condo that you own.
Yeah. So who's in charge?
Insanity.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is that going to stop people?
Yes. I think that's
the fact that it's gotten so bad. Like, why would you put your money into that versus other things you could invest in? Even if you do everything the right way, and let alone the market does go up in value and you've done well there, if someone stops paying, I spoke with someone else today. I'm blanking on who I spoke to that told me that they were $20,000 in late rent before they could finally get the tenant out from landlord tenant. Yeah. And they didn't get the money back after. No. They just finally got them out.
So when we talk about should you buy an investment property or not, when I present this as a realtor to someone and I say these are the logical reasons why you should buy an investment property and invest in real estate, hands down, the number one complaint I hear is, oh, but I don't want to deal with a tenant. Right. I don't want to lose control. I heard a story of this. I heard a story of that. That's the biggest barrier of entry. It's not the money. There's a lot of people with money under their mattress, figuratively, that would invest in real estate. And that would solve our housing crisis because rents would go down. It'd be more affordable for tenants because it'd be more supply. Yeah. I've been advocating for reform in landlord tenant board for years. I know there's a ton of social impacts on all sides of it, and I don't want to throw tenants out into the street because there's the other side of this is in the last 8 months, I've received the most amount of calls I've had from just people, sign calls, someone calling me asking for help. I'm getting kicked out of my place. Yeah. What can I live in $1,500 a month? where can I go? I need a place for me and my daughter.
And what are the options?
I get
Basement
zero
rentals?
far away.
Yeah.
I go far away, and it breaks my heart. But the other side of me, kind of a rational side, says, I always joke. People say, that figurative person saying, "Oh, my kids will never be able to afford to buy a place in Toronto," and I said, nobody is entitled to own a place in Toronto. Like, it's something you have to work towards. And
I was going to say their solution is to move to a place without rent control, because those are the lower rents.
yeah.
Right. That's literally
Isn't
your
that so
solution.
funny?
Yeah. And that doesn't get accounted for, particularly so my condo went vacant. I found a tenant because I am trying to keep that long-term mindset of this will be my kids' probably future.
Yeah.
But man, when they just keep stripping the rights of the owners, it is very hard to keep going.
Yeah.
It is extremely hard to keep going, because I just want to cash out my chips and be like, pay off my home mortgage, be debt free, and be like, screw you guys, I'm taking my ball and going
If you
home.
paid off your home mortgage, though, then eventually you get bored and you want to buy another investment property.
100% I would. Yeah. I figure I'm good for about 4 or 5 years with an investment property, and then I'm like, this is a real pain in the ass.
Okay, so
But that's what I'm getting paid for.
Okay.
That's what I'm getting paid
Right.
for, is the pain
It's a
in the
part-time
ass.
job that you don't
Yeah.
attend.
It is a part-time job. It is not passive.
So if we're going to stay in the real estate realm, and we're looking at, okay, these potential investors that are eventually going to enter back into the market, but they don't want to deal with becoming a landlord.
I just want to say, sorry.
I made a real mess on the floor over here.
Did you
Sorry.
spill?
I just want to know who uses the ice from the hotel freezer. No, is that a thing?
So
Do you
I sent Tom. No,
I put
no.
towels
There's
on
a
the bed when I
story
go to a
this.
hotel.
There's
and
a story to this. There is a story to this. And
Okay.
I'm sorry, Tom. You're about to lose your mic. I sent Tom out yesterday to find ice.
He bossed me around. He was setting this up. He's
And
like,
I was
go get me ice.
Go get ice. And he's like, I can't go get ice. And I'm like, go get ice. And so he goes out for like 5 minutes, comes back. He's like, there's no ice. There's no ice machine. So we found this in the thing. So we've poured the ice.
oh, so it's your water.
And-
Okay, I'm cool with it then.
Well,
Did you wash it? No. All right.
I mean, let's keep moving on here.
just enjoy your drink, Ralph.
Yeah, I enjoy it. The alcohol. will,
Okay, so if I have some money sitting aside and I want to invest, and I'm going to keep this conversation in the real estate lane here at least. There's obviously other things that you could do with your money, put in the stock market, other things. If I'm not going to buy a condo as an investment or buy a duplex in Hamilton or all the different options that people have, what else am I going to do? So we've had the CEO of Greybrook on the show before. Amazing. You could invest in Greybrook. Their returns have been very strong over the last few years. Steve puts a bit of money in Mix, I believe. Steve, you've never really broken that down on the show.
I had someone reach out about that
REITs?
to me and asking me like which ones to go in, and I'm like, I'm not telling you what MIC to go in. I'm not telling you anything,
Right.
but I do have some RRSP money in private mortgages.
So let me ask you this: if you decided I don't want to deal with being a landlord, but I want to invest in the real estate market, but I don't want to buy physical property, would you be going to Greybrook? Would you be putting your money in Mix? Would you be
do you look at
investing in
a tech
REITs?
company like Addy or something like that?
Like the percentage owned type of companies that exist? Like what would you do if you weren't going to buy?
if I didn't want to deal with any component of the landlord tenant relationship, I think REITs are a great example.
Yeah.
We're going to be having a conversation with Andrew McGivery from the McGivery Group.
Yeah.
Who's they have their own version of a REIT, and we're going to be discussing that on the podcast coming up next week or in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a great way where you can put some money in with no headache, but there's a yin and yang between headache and control. And I think if you just want passive income, then yes, a REIT is great because you don't have to deal with it. The management company will find the asset, they'll purchase the asset, they'll come up with a plan, they'll manage it, and then just pay you a dividend.
Yep.
But the disadvantage is going to be you have no control over it. And if
You
the
have
ship
no
goes down,
leverage either.
You don't have
no
leverage.
That's the
Right.
big one.
Which is beautiful and scary at the same time,
Yeah,
depending
so
on how the market goes.
I know a few guys that have their money in private mortgages, and tell you what, that 10, 11, 12% that's coming in right now because rates are high is really, really nice.
But the thing that people
That's
never
what I forgot about.
And it's
by the
like
way.
super high risk.
but the 10, 11, 12% interest you can get as a private lender lending to a second
greater.
mortgage can be great.
Yeah.
But that's only if it's being used the entire 12 months.
Right, they could pay it off.
They could pay it off in 8 months,
Yeah.
and then your actual annualized return, because you may sit. I know a lot of people who invest in mortgages and they supply money for second and third mortgages. they may sit for half a year with their money just sitting in a checking account. So when you say, how much did you make? Oh, I make 13% on this. Well, only for 6 months.
Yeah. So, you just made
So you have to really break down the numbers.
You made 6.5%.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the market right now. What are you seeing? People that are listing their homes with you, people that are buying with your team, why are they doing those things?
So a lot of them are taking place because of family. We call them, frictional movements. People get married, get divorced, have babies. What is that?
Frictional movement.
That's called. That's called.
I've never heard that one before. That's good.
Look up frictional unemployment, and you'll see that it just means that there's always going to be some version of unemployment. So frictional just means action, or I mean, technically not, but in the term.
Yeah.
So people are getting married, get divorced, get a job in a different city. So and this holding in his laugh still.
I have a lot of frictional sales lately.
Yes,
for sure.
So I would say it's a lot of that. It's an end user buying and selling at the same time.
Yep.
And how are we seeing the market right now? We're seeing that buyers are starting to build up some confidence, enough confidence to step into the market. And what we're seeing is a ton of optimism about the future markets. Over the last 10 days, I've seen 4 offers. So we're filming right now, beginning of November. I've seen 4.
Maybe middle of November.
Middle of November.
If everybody's asking, this is actually Grey Cup Sunday. So
This is actually,
go.
So listen,
who
Merry
do you
Christmas
think-
to everyone watching.
Go maybe Saskatchewan, go maybe Bombers.
Hey, podcast listener, if you're looking to buy or sell a property in Surrey or the Fraser Valley, you have to reach out to Steve Karrasch, my co-host. As much as we make fun of each other on this show, the truth is that I do this podcast with him because he is reliable. He has an opinion. He knows what he's doing. He has a ton of experience. And although I have never personally sold a home with Steve, if I were and I was in that area, he would be my number one choice. And let's be honest with each other. As much as he has a hard exterior on the show, he's a little bit of a softie once you get digging a little bit deeper. So you can reach out to Steve. It's link in the description. I hope you enjoy the rest of the podcast.
So early November, we'll call it mid Q4. We've seen 4 offers with closing dates in April or May.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
So buyers are now saying, you know what? Hey, I'm going to shoot my closing. I'm going to buy your property with a closing date of May. And that's a way of them, taking advantage of an appreciating market. Now, of course, the sellers are saying, I like your offer, but if I have to wait until May to buy a place, now I'm going to end up paying another 3, 4, 5%. So I think the market's already hedged in.
Right.
They've factored in a 4% gain between now and the end of Q1. So if you're watching this, write this down. Between today and end of Q1, so what is that, end of March, 4% increase in average price in Toronto.
I want to
Lock it in just like the guarantee from...
Guarantee, or I'll buy your home for cash. Some conditions apply. Steve's gonna finance.
I'm gonna paraphrase. This is a email that came in. Well, someone submitted a form on our website. So this literally just came in today. I haven't even talked with this person yet. I got to email them back. I'm gonna paraphrase it to not give away who they are or anything. But basically,
Who's Thomas?
yeah.
I'm just joking.
But basically, have a kid going to a university around Toronto. They're currently renting in this area, and they said that they've noticed that they're watching the condo prices drop, specifically in their building.
Thumbs up again. Here we go.
Inventory is shrinking on the sale unit, so they're actually seeing the active stuff slowly come off the market. Maybe just more terminations or expires, not necessarily sold. And they're saying, I think that if we hold this for at least 3 years for the rest of the kid going to school, there could be some equity and some growth in that time frame. And this came in today.
Is this a resale property they're talking
It's
about?
a resale condo. They're basically saying like rents are still okay. They're going down a bit. They're currently renting. They're watching everything in the building either not sell, come off the market, or the prices are dropping. And they're like, my kid's going to continuously go to school for the next few years. Instead of them continuously renting for that whole time, could I just buy now an opportunity? And what I'll respond to this is like, yes, but the next 12 months, don't expect anything to change.
Yeah.
But then after that, yeah, like all the signs point towards there could be growth.
So you're saying that could it go up in value over the next 3 years?
This is what they're saying
what
to me
they're
is that they believe the next 2.5 years would be a good time to build a little equity.
What would you say the cost of tuition is right now for a full year?
That's a good question. I actually don't know.
20K maybe? like tuition.
I mean, you have kids getting close.
Yeah,
No,
my nephew's in
quite.
university.
Okay.
I think it's somewhere between 20 and 30K.
I'm assuming
Is it that
it's
much?
At least
20 to 30.
$20,000
Well,
a year
yeah, maybe
what was-
for a
10,000.
real university. Tom, do me a favor, real before we lose this thought. Like, just squeeze in a little. You're gonna go out of the. Look, I put that up there so you can see where you are. There you go.
So
Thumbnail's gonna be like Tom hanging off the side of his.
it's like the market's going. I would argue that if they can hold the property for 3 years, well, give me an estimated value of the property. 600K,
Probably less. Probably 550.
550.
Yeah.
I would say that in the next 3 years, if someone was to buy a property in downtown Toronto for 550, I'm going to say that if my instinct is you would be able to pay off, the equity would appreciate more than the tuition. in
That's
3 years.
interesting.
That's a
good way to put it.
I think. But now here's the thing, though.
But it could drop before. It could also go down
could.
to 520.
But I'm talking about an entry point and an exit point.
Yeah, for sure.
I think you can make $90,000 in 3 years on a $520,000 condo.
I guarantee it.
I guarantee. But that being said, here's where people have to look a layer deeper.
It's not financial advice.
This is not a promise of profits. You
Right.
need to also factor in, if you're buying in Toronto next to a university, you're going to be paying double land transfer tax on the way in. And then if you were to sell it after 3 years, you're going to pay a real estate agent and
Yeah.
legal fees
Yeah.
to get rid of it. So here's what I would suggest, thomas126@gmail.com. I would say, if you buy now, number one, you guarantee the security of where your son or daughter is going to be living.
Yep.
Number two, the appreciation is in your pocket, not in the landlord's pocket.
Yep.
Number three, I would say after 3 years, refinance the property, pull out the tuition that you're like, pull out the equity, pay off any student loans, because student loans are free until you graduate, and then keep it rented
After
and
that,
don't sell it.
Obviously, you don't sell it after the 3 years when they
Let
leave.
your
Just
kid-
keep it and
yeah.
Yeah.
I would say at that case, let your kid go and rent a place wherever they're going to be working, and then you be the landlord of that unit. You collect $2,500 in rent. Your son or daughter pays $2,500 a month in rent, living in Queen West or wherever they're going to be
Right.
close to work. It's a net cash flow cancel out.
Ben Tell brought up some other stuff, and one big one was the talk about this immigration changing and the reduction. And somebody was in the comments a while back talking about how if you actually do the numbers, we're going to see negative population because they're going to reduce all these people and that people. Ben's whole thing was like, Ben, I'm not calling him by his first name now.
B Diddy, yeah.
He was
soon?
he was talking. Tom's gonna make me cut it out.
No, I'm not.
He was talking like, no matter what happens, we're still gonna be at 1.5% population growth, which was a big thing. And then the craziest thing that I've ever seen at a conference is somebody like him from a big company stand up, and I wrote it down. If you can't house them, don't bring them. And everyone was like,
people were clapping.
yeah, like it was insane to first of all hear that from somebody from a big company, but his policy was like they screwed up so bad.
Well, he said that 20% of students or people that are here on student visas are at food banks.
Yeah.
That's tough.
And even calling the colleges, which we all know were kind of a
He
farce.
said also 20%,
called them Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, he said 20% of the students that are here on visas
Are at food
are
bank.
not students.
Yeah.
Not in school.
Oh, right.
I can tell you, so in Markham, we rent out a lot of properties to students that are coming from, and I'll say, coming from mainland China or Hong Kong.
Yep.
It's not always. I don't want to generalize, but I'm just telling you what I've experienced. And they come in, 3 guys renting a townhouse. The townhouse is worth $1.3 million. They're paying, I don't know, $3,000 a month in rent. And I look at their applications and it says student, student, student.
Yeah.
Oh, it's guaranteed by my family back home. We will prepay voluntarily so many months in rent. The landlords say, okay. I meet with these guys a week or two after closing. And in one circumstance not long ago, there was a 2-car garage. Must have been $350,000 worth of cars between the garage and the 1 car on the parking pad. I go, you guys are students and you're driving like the best Mercedes that exists. I go, well, how are you doing this? I said, I'm curious, what are you studying? And he said the name of a course, but it was like irrelevant. He was even laughing. It's like basket weaving. Basket weaving. And it was like aerospace ergonomics. I was like, what does that even make? Like airplane chairs? Like what? I don't even know what you're studying.
Yeah.
And It's just a loophole for them to, as Benjamin Tall said,
to get in,
purchase their citizenship, purchase a speed pass on the cheap.
Of which he said was like, if you're going to immigrate, I think when I've had friends whose families have immigrated, they've broken down the numbers, and it's expensive to immigrate to Canada, or it used to be. Yeah. Now he's saying for $45,000, they're buying their immigration, which is not equivalent to what should be for somebody coming to a country. It should be hundreds of thousands of dollars, that because that's one way you used to be able to get into Canada, was invest and buy your way into the country. So if you had a family of 4 coming from, I want to say I've got friends that were, if I remember these numbers correctly, like South Africa, and their family had to invest like $900,000 for a family of 4 within the country in order to come in. Yeah. And that was their...
And have a guarantor and
they still continued to work, and they still did all crazy stuff, but like that was their passage into the country. And now to think that people are doing that for $45,000 is crazy, and it's just to get people in the door.
For sure. And I think another big gap that we're seeing, a huge gap as it relates to housing, is you used to be able to come in as a skilled laborer. That was like an entrance way in. Like my family came in the early 80s, in the late 70s. You came in as a carpenter. Yeah, we need you. And that helped.
Are there no more Italian carpenters left in Italy?
They're gone. And you know what? The Italian carpenters, the masonry guys, I tell you, try to build a house. You will not find one young guy or girl anywhere. Yeah. And it's so scary because you see this guy who's 65 years old, putting up, masonry work. And I said, well, how long are you going to, who's next? Yeah. Who's next? So I think that's a big gap where they're allowing a lot of students in, because I think there's a lot of money coming through the people that advocate for the universities, or these fake universities.
What a missed opportunity to not be in the trades, eh?
I think it's an excellent opportunity.
As us 3 paper pushers are sitting here.
Listen, I was with a client over the weekend. He said that his daughter's just finished school. She's going to be a welder. I'm like, you are set. I'm like, give me her number. Yeah. Because I'm going to sell her lots of houses over the next 30 years, because you will have a very lucrative
Pre-COVID, I had a lady come into one of my open houses, and they were telling us how she became I think she was a plumber, if I remember. I don't think she was an electrician. I think it was a plumber. It was a trade. And she was saying, I got all my schooling 100% for free because I was a woman and they needed more women in the program. Amazing. And I was like, what an amazing opportunity right now. You can just be a plumber, electrician. All you got to do is go and put in the work, and all your schooling is just free. Yeah. Like, why wouldn't you take that? Yeah. Well, it's because people don't want to get their hands dirty.
Do the kids still want to become YouTubers? Is that still cool?
Do you, Tom? I don't know. Tom? I saw you on stage.
I have no interest being a YouTuber.
Big time YouTuber.
I'm a business owner, and I use this platform and other platforms as a way to meet new people.
I think that's going to carry on.
Yeah. So here's what I'm thinking.
I want to be a YouTuber.
The 10 to 15-year-olds right now trying to figure out what to do. I think you can be a YouTuber and be in skilled trades, because you can go do your skilled trades and actually make a lot of money. And then you can make YouTube videos showing people how to do things and build a huge following that way as well. You can mix them, mix them together.
I have a friend like that. I think I was telling you about, that does YouTube. And I bet you he probably makes more money now doing metal work on YouTube than he does actually doing metal work. Yeah.
Like we think that there's a number of people that are interested in real estate in Canada. These niche things on YouTube get hundreds of thousands.
But it's because they're not, like, we're so stupid because we're focusing on like real estate in this tiny little area, when these people are reaching anyone that's interested in that area worldwide.
But the styles will change. My son says to me, he goes, Dad, I've been watching your content. It's a little bit boring. Did you ever think about putting Subway Surfer on the bottom? I said, well, yeah, I don't know. I could have.
I don't even know what that is.
Subway Surfer. Subway Surfer. Oh my God. Subway Surfer. Tell me you don't know what Block Blast is.
I don't
Comment down below if you know what Block Blast is.
I don't have teenagers.
Is that having, you have to have
Block Blast is like, no, Block Blast is
we were just learning about words last night. No, we were learning about like,
he's saying like when you're talking, there should be like you playing a video game.
No, it's like I'm talking and the bottom half of the screen is like people, the video game of like Tetris Subway Surfer doing something.
Yeah,
and it keeps attention. Or somebody cutting like soap
while
really
you're
slowly or something.
While you're talking about the market, you should build a Lego set.
That's a good idea. And building real estate, building your wealth.
You just
I want to jump back, Steve. You talked about the idea of immigration, and one thing that I think is worth for all of us to keep in our peripheral. We talk about immigration, meaning people coming into Canada. Nobody's talking about migration of people leaving the country. And all that really matters is the net number of people that are in Canada. And I've had more people, I've served more people in the last 8 months that have left the country.
Where are they going?
Central America, South America, United
Are they
States.
retiring there?
No, these are like
they're younger,
like vital, like 30s and 40s-year-olds running great businesses, like Virginia, Texas, Florida, a lot
going
like
for job opportunities there.
Some of them have like business strings there.
Sure.
Some of them nothing. And the retirees are going to more.
And
like,
why are they going? Like, what's the? Is it just housing costs? Is it lifestyle?
Politics.
Is it?
I think
it's all
it's-
politics.
I'm outie. I'm out.
Frustration.
I'm out.
It's probably the same reason my family left post World War Germany. They were
Well,
like,
maybe not the
"This
exact same.
sucks."
Maybe it was not as. I
Maybe
hope
it's
to
a
think
little
it's not as
different.
extreme. I hope it's not as.
No, but it's not. Like I bring this up. I think this one guy all the time, and he's like, "I left Ukraine." He's older, much older than I am, almost retirement age, but he's leaving here because he's like, I didn't feel opportunity in Ukraine. It was literally the USSR at that time. And he was like, I'm starting to not feel that opportunity here. And he's like, I'm just starting. I'm very well off. But he's like, I'm just starting to not feel that opportunity here. So I'm going to exit early because now he's a man of means. Right. Yeah. And I think there's just a lot of people that are brave enough to go like, I'm out.
Yeah.
And I think that's not a bad thing necessarily. I just don't think if you're going to go to Costa Rica that you're like, this is better.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
I have to have an armed guard with me.
Well, it's better if you sold your house in Markham for $1.5 million and it's cash and you're going down there and
buying for $75,000.
Right.
I used to work with a guy from Nicaragua, and he's like, even though he went back to Nicaragua for like just vacation to see family, when he went back, he hired an armed driver. And I'm like, it's cheap.
Yeah.
But are we hiring an armed driver for the rest of our lives?
Again, we go down a rabbit hole of like, why somebody would make a life-changing move. But my point was, we can't just look at the immigration numbers. We need to look at how many humans are in Canada, because Benjamin Tall referenced, out of the people that are getting citizenship that are new Canadians, 40% of them are already here.
Already here. They're just becoming citizens.
They're just changing citizenship. They're changing papers. So that person that was a landed immigrant or student visa and now a Canadian citizen, they are not buying any more cars. They're not buying any more bread. They're not buying any more real estate. There's no impact for the economy.
They can buy real estate because now they're a permanent resident.
That's true.
Right? That's most of my calls from like my YouTube videos is people that have got their permanent residency within the last 2 months. And they're like, we're ready to
I
go.
want to buy now.
Have you guys ever had an immigration lawyer on?
No, we should. That'd be a great guest, actually.
The only people shadier than us. Come on. We're real estate.
Well, we had that. So on our Moving to Markham page, we had a guest recently who just came in from Jamaica. And he just moved here with his family, and we talked about his journey coming to Canada. And he talked about this consultant that he had. And I had no idea this exists, but apparently there's somebody that in Jamaica will hook you up with everything Canadian, get you a bank account, get you a place to live, get you the visas, whatever you need. So
apparently they do. I've had similar stories, and some of them are very happy with their service, and some of them are not. I'm sure that's
there's levels to everything. Few final things on interest rates here. So it looks like they will get to 2.5. That's at least the projection here for Bank of Canada.
Well, explain what we saw today with Ben Tal's projections.
Oh, he basically said he believes they'll get to 2.5. So that means there's a few more cuts.
And he calls that the terminal rate.
The terminal rate.
The rate in which they stop dropping.
Yes. He believes they should go to 2.25, but thinks they'll get to 2.5 because he thinks they went too high as well. Again, just all his opinion, but he's been right on a lot of stuff at this point, which means that if they get to that terminal rate of 2.5, that fixed rates are basically where they're going to be. They might go to the like high 3.8s or to 4.2, but it's kind of looking like...
He listened to our show 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, I know. I wonder where he heard that. But
I got this information from
so
the
it's
Tom
looking
Storey
like,
show.
variable will keep going down, and variable is looking like it's going to be lower than the fixed.
It should. That's where it's supposed to be.
Eventually.
I think your variable rate, if you have the right prime number, is going to be at 3.5% on your mortgage.
And the fix is going to be hovering around 4 for the next, barring some crazy event that happens, for the next probably while.
The next regulation.
So if we have
like the new normal that's coming.
So if the next phase here is 3.5% variable, 4% fixed, give or take, does that bring the market back? When they've stopped changing rates, fixed is held for a while, variable is where it needs to be. They've held after a few announcements. Is that giving everyone the signal, buyers, sellers, it's okay to transact? There's no uncertainty.
I don't think it's a number. Okay. I think it's an attitude and a confidence.
Yeah.
I think what people want is still. They don't want murky.
Yeah.
They will swim in still water. Nobody wants to swim in murky water.
Hey folks, Tom and his team are using a new tool from TRESAvideo.ca to help them explain Rico's information guide to their clients. And if you're an agent in Ontario looking to increase your transparency and trust with your clients in an easier way, you too can go to TRESAvideo.ca right now and get your own custom branded Rico Guide Explainer video that can simply be added to your email signature, put on your website, or integrated into any CRM email campaigns. And if you go to TRESAvideo.ca right now and use the promo code TOMSHOW, you can save 20% off your purchase. So don't wait, go to TRESAvideo.ca right now, enter the code TOMSHOW on checkout, quickly upload your branding, and receive your new video from TRESAvideo.ca right now.
Right? Yeah. And I think it's the uncertainty of what will happen. Like you look at the stock market as we approach American election, did I just get us canceled, or are they going to get like a YouTube if I said that? I
mean, you gave it away.
Sorry.
We should probably check the numbers.
Check the numbers. So my point is, as you approach any change in government, there's going to be a freeze in the stock market. There's going to be a freeze in real estate market. People are not going to make big decisions in looming uncertainty in any case.
So now as we move into the end of 2024, do you have optimism for next year in sales volume? And
I definitely do. I have a ton of optimism in terms of next year, in terms of sales volume. I think GTA wide, I don't know what our numbers are going to land at. Maybe 77,000.
No, like under 70.
Under 70,000?
We'll be 67, 68,000.
Wow, I was off. Yeah. Last year, I thought we would be like much higher than we are.
We're going to do basically the same as we did in 23.
So go back to Benjamin Hall 2 years ago. We're sitting in the same conference center. This is on the tail end of, crazy 2021, 2022 year, 110,000 transactions. And he says, this was just borrowed demand from the future. And now we're seeing that was true.
Yeah.
So if we draw a straight line, we went a little bit up and a little bit down. But the baseline,
are we catching back up now that eventually?
Well, he says every month. That's what he said. That's the last note I have in my notes was like, every month that goes by, we're building demand. Yeah. He's like, the demand's not going anywhere.
Yeah,
it's coming.
I guess the need for real estate hasn't gone away.
Never.
Right? It probably won't.
I mean, in Vancouver, a lot more people are liking to sleep outside.
Yeah, I was going to say,
technically,
everyone I know wants to sleep inside.
I mean, it's still a form of shelter.
Does that count in the housing if we all have just tents delivered?
Does that count as new housing starts?
This message brought to you by Canadian Tire
and the Liberal Party of Canada. I'm in Toronto. I realize I can't make jokes about the Liberal Party.
But we talk about immigration and we talk about migration. Well, if we have an election coming up, I predict by March next year, we're in an election federally in Canada. And if there's a change of guard, does that change the overall economy? Not because of policy, but because there's less migration. If there was 400,000 people that were going to leave the country in 2024.
You think less people will leave if there's a change? That's interesting.
I do. I think some people will leave because of a change. That's like 10%. 90% that we're going to leave because of current status quo are not going to leave.
Well, yeah, the other comment that he made about that whole thing with migration, he's like, we're not kicking these people out of here.
No.
He's like, you can think we're going to kick these people. No. We're not the States. No. We're not deporting people, putting them on a plane and getting them out of here.
Making them Canadians. Is that not what he said?
Will slowly over time, no matter which government we have, we're going to slowly make them Canadians. And
I think most Americans still haven't figured out that we've banned them in Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you hear that with the Google searches that are like, depending on which way the election goes? Sorry, spoiler alert. We don't know yet. A bunch of Americans think they're going to move here. And
they've been searching online. They don't know they can't buy here.
We don't want you. Actually, I did have I have a few clients that came up after the 2015 election in the States.
Yeah.
And they were like,
I had a family member from the States that emailed me the next day after Trump was elected in 2015, saying like, I'm seriously considering moving. He never did it. Never did it. Yeah, 2016. Yeah, whatever. So yeah,
our country's the one that fell apart in 2015. Sorry, forgot. Oh man, Tommy, we got on time. We're at 57. Okay, let's do some final thoughts.
Let's do 9 more points.
This guy has trouble. This guy has trouble talking.
Yeah. Well, what else you got, Ralph? Come on.
My name is Jeff. You guys ever watch 21 Jump Street?
Yes.
You got the joke?
Oh, of course.
Oh, my son. My name is Jeff. Just watch it.
When I hear 21 Jump Street, I think of the original.
No, those.
I hired a guy.
The Johnny Depp.
I had a guy a while ago. He's like, "Have you ever seen 21 Jump Street?" I'm like, "I grew up on it." He's like, "What do you mean? It only came out like 2 years ago." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He had no idea that it was a show from before. I never saw the. What do you call it? Remake?
We all have children. Mine are a little bit younger. Yours are a little bit older. Steve's are kind of in the middle. You talked about buying that condo for your daughter. Now looking forward, for all of our kids and everyone listening that has kids that are too young to buy real estate or even think about it. Like you see the memes where it's like a baby sleeping. Be like, damn, I was such an idiot. Should have been investing in land.
Yeah.
But I was taking a nap at 6 months old. So now moving forward, we've spent the last hour saying, listen, the overall market's not great now. Freehold's doing fine. Condos are not good, and it could get bad for a little bit of time here. But then we all think, and I really fully recognize this, it's 3 realtors talking for an hour saying, hey, eventually prices are going to move up again.
Yeah.
Right? Because I do actually believe it. Whether people want to believe it, that's on them.
Insert your YouTube comment below.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it's already happened at this point.
They typed it ages ago and walked away.
Yeah. It's fine. But now moving forward, like, what are you going to do for your kids that
definitely gonna buy more real estate for my kids moving forward? Yeah. And again, the vision there. And again, just to be really clear, I'm just as uncomfortable or as uncertain as any other buyer out there saying I'm making a decision for my family and their future. I just have the benefit of seeing the long-term success of past clients.
Right.
And most buyers don't get to see that. But we started off by saying real estate as a fad. Sleeping inside is not a fad.
No.
Shelter is Maslow's like number one, safety and security is Maslow hierarchy of needs, the number one thing. It's going to be required forever.
Right.
I think the policies around it will manipulate. The demand for real estate will always be there. And listen, generally we're talking about investing in real estate in the Toronto area. If you can't invest in real estate in Toronto, you can invest somewhere else. I always look at real estate as, the ocean, and you're on this boat. And it's a lot easier to jump from a boat to another boat as the tides go up and go down. It's really hard to jump onto a boat as the tides start to rise and you're on the ground. You have to jump a lot higher. It becomes a lot more challenging. So even if I bought a property for my kids, maybe one in Kitchener, for example, I've got 3 kids, maybe one in Windsor, one in Toronto area. I'll let you decide which kid I like most. Insert comments below who I like most.
The Toronto property. Sorry.
One kid is going to have a view of the bridge going to Windsor to Detroit. Maybe just...
We're relegating you to the minor leagues over here.
Yeah, one of them. Timmins is beautiful, and it, I don't know which kid is going to get Timmins, but ultimately, I think that it's the steadiest way to. I wouldn't say make money. I think hold value.
Yeah,
because I think it's really an erosion of the actual dollar itself.
It's one thing my wife says to me with thinking about selling the condo. She's like, what's going to happen? You're going to take that money. You're going to put it back into our principal residence. And then at some point in time, you're going to be like, we should buy a condo or we should buy a townhouse. And she's like, then you're going to have a higher entry point than what we already had.
Yeah.
She's like, so how stupid are you that? And I'm like, well, I'm the one that she manages the finances of it and I manage the actual property. And I'm like, I'm the one that has to go here and deal with this. So that's frustrating. But I'm like, yeah, you know what? You're right. Like most of my relationship, I'm like, yes, you're right.
Yeah.
It's true.
Since we've been making predictions on the market, so from 2012 to 2022, we saw massive growth.
Yep.
Crazy growth, more than double for almost any asset class from that, January 2012 till January 22. Then we saw some ups and downs and some craziness when the rates changing. Now, if we look forward, it'd be interesting to know, and I don't know this off the top of my head, from 2012 to 2022, what was the average fixed rate over that period of time?
Average fixed rate over the last 10 years?
Yeah.
I'm going to say the average.
359?
No, I think higher than that.
No.
5-year fixed? 5-year fixed?
Sure.
5-year fixed?
2012?
I'm going to say that the average is probably, average would be 4.7.
No.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
You're lying,
I
you
think
pumper.
Okay.
Get out of here.
You don't think so?
No, man. Not at all.
What did you say?
359.
That's crazy. That means that if you looked at it from statistics, we had a year and a half where it was less than 359.
You got your computer open. Figure it out, Tom.
You know what? We're too late in the podcast to be figuring things out at this point.
We should take this back.
I will.
Take it to the streets.
359 is the,
let us know.
average.
Let us know in the comments if you go
Do I get to
our homework for
remove
us.
2023 as a 2024 as a?
I'm going to guess 4.7. 4.7 is
Where
Ralph's
I'm
vote.
going with this is then going from
Calling
when
your
the rate started going up in 22, moving 10 years forward from there. If we average the same overall rate, because there has been some ups and downs along the way, are we going to see the same growth we saw in the last 10 years?
I do know the average for 100 years. It's 4.5. Wow. The average for 100 years.
Well, it was also like 17.
Stats
for many
you don't
years.
need to know. Brought to you by the
I think
Tom
it's good
Storey
to
Show.
know. That's good to know.
100 years. I'm not going back in 100 years.
Yeah, but it's good to know what the average. It's like it's like a benchmark.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if we think when the dust settles, we're at 3.5 to 4, then we're back to
Stimulating.
average.
I think we're at 4.
Okay, so fine. For the 5-year fix, yeah. So what does that mean? If that happens, whether or not there's a change in government, even if immigration comes down a bit, it seems like so far, if you believe the numbers that the government puts out, because some people don't, it seems like so far we've had this magical soft-ish landing that no one thought was possible. But, could
This
get
message
worse.
brought to you by Stats Canada and the CBC.
That was actually okay. Let's close on that last one where Ben Tao was like, "How come we're the only country other than one other that uses mortgage costs and
Mortgage
inflation?"
interest.
And put a comment down below if you can guess which country uses mortgage interest and the inflation rate.
We will not tell you, and if you get it correct, I will give you a gold medal.
Free home evaluation.
Gold medal emoji. Free home evaluation. I don't want to give it. It's less than you think.
I tell you, I'll chip in. I'll send a $10 Starbucks card to whoever in the comments below can tell us which country uses.
They can use Google. You realize that?
Yeah, but that's an engagement. We want engagement.
Okay, that's true. It's good.
Tell you what, we're not going to give it to the first person with the answer. We're going to give it to a random person with the correct answer. That's why people keep commenting.
This is good.
But the U.S. doesn't
$10.
use housing.
U.S. doesn't use it.
Yeah, U.S. doesn't use housing in their inflation analysis where we do, which ironically, as the interest rates go up, the inflation goes up.
Yeah. So to save housing costs from going up, we have to have housing costs go up.
Yeah.
Well, no, obviously, though, it worked. What they did worked for bringing down inflation, which is all they care about. And they could, Bank of Canada doesn't really care other than the inflation. They don't care about what it costs you. It's like inflation to 2%. That's it.
Period.
Period.
That's all that matters. Do you know what I care about? Look at up there on that screen. Look at this hanging over the side. It's coming back, man. It's coming back.
What was your cycling name? Your Peloton name?
Still chubby?
Still chubby?
Yeah. That's
Are you
my
still
Peloton
cycling?
name. Oh, shoot. Should have said that on here. I'm going to have a bunch of Peloton. Nah.
Dude,
none of them
people
are on
still-
Peloton.
dude,
Nobody
people-
in the comments. are
I've
on
started
Peloton.
noticing on my Facebook a bunch of people putting Pelotons up for sale. I'm like, oh, they're leaving
No,
the
I
houses
still
now.
ride that thing.
I'm not saying that you're not using it, but most people that bought it during the pandemic are now.
Yeah, lots of them finished
Chubby.
paying it
Get
off.
rid of me. Follow me.
I'm still
Follow me on Peloton. How many influencers say that?
Yeah, follow me on Peloton. Smash the subscribe button. Follow Helping You Move on Peloton every Wednesday or Thursday with Amato. What's her name? There's one of the trainers.
Which one?
Amato. I don't know her first name.
I don't know. Oh, Emily?
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm a Peloton.
I just did the Marvel one. Super cool.
No,
I
I'm
did a Marvel Peloton.
I'm a Matt guy.
All right. That's all right. That's good.
You don't go there.
I don't know what you guys are talking
Okay.
about. That was fun. Thank you,
Peloton.
Ralph.
No problem, guys.
We will put all your information in the description if anyone wants to talk about American politics with you.
If you want to talk about Markham real estate,
immigration.
let's talk about Markham real estate. I know a little bit about that. But if any of
If you
the
want to
listeners,
claim your free Starbucks $10 gift card,
hey, listen, if anyone's watching
for
and they're
knowing the answer is beep.
if anyone's around watching, wants to come by Main Street, Unionville, I have the ReMax office there.
Yep.
Drop us a line. I'll make sure to make you feel at home. Grab a quick coffee, chat about real estate market, wherever we gotta go.
Careful.
Love it.
Careful what you wish for.
Hey,
Love it.
I didn't tell them where, but I'm pretty sure you can find it. I'm in the business
I think
of
you just told them where.
I told them
Didn't
where.
you just tell them where you're?
I'm not scared. I want to help people. This is my job, is to help people.
Yep. As it should be.
Well, I'm sitting here in front of the camera.
People that will come to your office, you don't want at your office.
All right.
The rest of you, I love you. Thank you.
So my office is in Etobicoke.
Thank you. Oh my God. Thank you everybody for watching and listening. We will see you next week.
Give him a kiss with me. Give him an Italian. I love you. Okay, stop.